We've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation podcast, powered by Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right, here it is, Season 3, Episode 4 of the BCSN Nation podcast. You heard it, powered by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Let's go Sports Bar.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are into Week 4. We're through 3 weeks of the high school football season. I am Brandon Carnes here with Justin Feldkamp and, of course, Coach Mike Robb. Gentlemen, I want to know if you have a takeaway from the first 3 weeks of the high school football season. Coach Mike Robb, we'll start with you.
You know, one thing that I'm taking away is that some of the teams that I thought was going to be elite, are maybe average, and some of those average teams might be great, So this week right here at Week 4 is definitely going to be a proving ground for a lot of different teams. And there's one game that I'm really locked in on. We'll talk about that later, though.
Mike Robb, the king of the teas so far today. Justin Feldkamp, your takeaway from Week 3, 1, 2, and 3, really.
Yeah, I like what I've seen out of Perrysburg. They're 3-0 coming off of a dominant win over a pretty solid Fremont Ross team. And I like the fact that multiple players have found the end zone. They're not necessarily relying on 1 or 2 and even 3 guys. It's been more than that over the course of 3 weeks. Josh Tackett, Joe Cini, Dominic Woods have been 3 key cogs to that Perrysburg offense, and they have a lot of weapons that they can go to. You try to shut down one team on a defensive game plan or one player on a defensive game plan, they can pivot and find someone else to get the job done.
Yeah, coming off back-to-back shutouts, the Hive is buzzing, to say the least. I think I'm still riding high on my mommy pick, but we'll get more into that later in the show. See, we all got teases. We're all ready. We came to play today. We'll get you through 3 weeks of action, like I said. We'll get you caught up on everything coming up in Week 4. We'll check out our Family House Player of the Week today. And, of course, as always, our Game of the Week preview. Make sure you're listening every single week on BCSN at 4 p.m. right here or anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, or head over to bcsnnation.com/podcast. And make sure you follow us across all of our social media platforms at BCSN Sports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And if you're listening on audio for this next segment, you might want to hop over to the YouTube or hop over to BCSN and check it out because, gentlemen, I need you to pull up your whiteboards. We're going to have you make some picks. Here's a marker for you. Here's a marker for you. We got high-tech erasers, all right? Make sure you don't.
It's like a game show.
Yeah, baby, we're ready to go today, all right? So we got a little pick-em segment, all right? As we get through the first 2 weeks, as we mentioned, I want you to pick some things as a topic I throw out to you. So the first one I want you to pick is your winner who's going to come out of the NLL this season. Mike Robb, I want you to pick your winner of the Buckeye. Justin, the winner of the Cardinal. Or you can write down both if you're feeling confident in both. If you're feeling confident in both, you can get down both. We only got a half hour in the show, so we got
quick writing here. All right, got to fill the void here.
It's like we do. I know your teammate. Flip it over. Go ahead. We got
Whitmer and Napoleon.
Whitmer and Napoleon.
I got Whitmer and Napoleon. We got the glare with the boards
Whitmer
here.
and Clay. Ooh, so we got a debate. So we're consensus on Whitmer and the Buckeye. What is your pitch for both of your teams for the Cardinal division, Mike Robb, with Clay?
Well, with Clay, there's nothing else to say. Mason 'Heinchel. I mean, the guy is
a fair argument.
And we teased you a little bit, and I got to go back to it because I picked both of those teams. Whitmer versus Clay is a huge game. I feel like we saw that. We saw like a lot that come out that, and I feel like out of Mason ☞Heinchel, I got what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Dude's a competitor. He's a brawler, and the dude, he's going to get it done. I don't see anybody else stopping him for the rest of the season.
He's a stud on the Napoleon side, Justin.
All right, I'll say that they can counter your D1 recruit with a fellow D1 recruit in Trey Rubenstein and the fact that he can play both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing Clay for not putting Mason ☞Heinchel on the defensive side.
Quarterback safe.
Trey is a playmaker in maybe more ways than Mason ☞Heinchel because he plays both sides of the ball. Yeah. I've seen him intercept passes. I've seen him catch passes. I've seen him make tackles.
He seems like he could be the X factor when those two teams match up where it's like, hey, put him on Mason. You follow Mason wherever the heck he goes. We can't let this guy get free, get loose, go Johnny Manziel on us on the field. Yeah. We're going to move on to the City League. All right, your pick for the City League. I feel like we might have a consensus on this one based on the first 3 weeks of the season. Cue the fancy music for a copyrighted show we can't play.
All right. I'm going to go Lima Senior, but start a little smaller there in print because I think that start, if they continue to evolve over the course of the season, they can make that game a huge game, just like it was last year for de facto
Mike Robb.
City League title.
Well, it's all good in the hood when you're going with start.
There we go.
Because I like DeAndre Hood. And outside of that, I like Preston Edwards have to offer, and then Marvon. He is just a baller, and as they continue just to evolve this team, Joyce and the rest of those guys, I think that they are going to be very hard to stop once City League play comes.
There we go. All right, we'll talk more about the NBC and the TAC as the show gets in later. But what I want you guys to make your last pick of this segment is your player of the year so far. It doesn't matter what conference. Player of the year, your guy you're riding with to get that Blade Player of the Year when they release it later in the season. Go ahead.
We'll pick a BCSN Nation podcast Player of the Year.
Hey, we can do that too. There's a long con tease as we get moving.
Here we go. I got you.
All right. Something tells me I know who it's going to be. Okay. We're changing. Yes. It wasn't where I was expecting you to go based on that Clay pick, but Tyler Morgan from Central Catholic. Okay.
Yeah, he's a stud. He's going to run the ball as much as they allow him to, especially with uncertainty at quarterback right now.
Right. Yes.
All right. This is kind of like the Heisman race. It's gone to a quarterback year after year after year after year at the college rank. So I'm going to stick with a quarterback.
Yeah.
Despite picking Napoleon, I think he could still win the award if you don't win your division, because I think he's going to lead his team to enough wins and then possibly some playoff wins. I think that's the next step for the Clay Eagles, but I'll stick with Mason Heinzel for Player of the Year so far.
So I'm going to say this, Justin. I'm going to say Justin is deciding that for you Napoleon fans, he's picking Clay. He's
changed his mind.
He's now Player of the Year.
That's what he's saying.
He's 1 of 11 on the field, or 1 of 22, or 33 if you're throwing in special teams.
Hey, but when you got Tom Brady, I mean,
he won quite a few Super Bowls. He did have a pretty good defense and a darn good head coach throughout that process.
Shut it.
We got animosity. We'll see if those picks play out. You can grab your screen grabs of each one of those picks as the season moves on. We'll see if these guys are right or wrong. But we're going to get into somebody who did a lot of things right last week on the football field for St. Francis, and that is our Family House Player of the Week. Hit the 𝗦𝗽liche. All right, if you were watching Game Day Nation, Mike Robb dubbed this man Real Deal Eli Beal over at St. Francis. He was dominant against Brother Rice, 153 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns for St. Francis, and a 49-28 win over Brother Rice. A killer performance for Eli Beal and the Knights. And he really just vaulted that offense and gave them the spark they needed all night long, Mike Robb.
I've been impressed with him all offseason. I got to spend a lot of months working with Eli and seeing his progression and knowing that at Springfield he was to come out there and dominate. To see him go over to St. Francis was a surprise. But to know that he was going to be in a program where he could excel really quickly with that offensive line and Coach Linke, I knew that he would be a problem for a lot of teams, and he has proven it. This is my fantasy running back of the year.
They might have had to preload the fireworks in the Glass Bowl for Saturday on Friday night when Eli Beal got the ball constantly and performed.
Yeah, 5'10", $175. I think he's put together physically. I think he's got the speed. I like the juke moves. And when you're going up against top-tier talent on the other side of the ball, and they will face some stiffer challenges here as the season progresses, will St. Francis. But Eli Beal, a guy that you can rely upon to make the routine play, in which I like, because sometimes you have maybe some quarterbacks who make this outstanding play, but then they throw an interception to kill a drive and all that kind of stuff. And Eli Beal, from what I've seen through 3 weeks, is the ability to run to the outside and then break away speed, but also able to pick up those yards when you just need a conversion. It's 3rd or maybe 4th down, 3rd and 3. Like, just give me 3 plus, 100%. And then he gets it.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. Watching the highlights from Friday's game, you don't just see him making plays where he's bouncing outside, beating guys. He's hitting the hole in the center. He's hitting the A-gap. He's making those 8-yard runs, turning those into touchdown runs. And then the spin moves that we saw on the Real Deal Beal clip, making any and everybody on the field miss from Brother Rice. That's our Player of the Week, Eli Beal from St. Francis. Our Family House Player of the Week. Family House will make it together. And we'll make it together right here, back for more podcast after a 30-second ad from Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings, buy one, get one free. Boneless Thursdays saved me so much cash. I can finally do everything I've ever wanted in life, like skydiving. You ready? No, this was a mistake, a huge mistake. I want to go back. Go! Yeah, I'll probably just use the money I saved to get more buy one, get one free boneless wings at B-Dubs. No brainer. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.
At participating locations, not valid with other offers or discounts. See website or app for details.
skydiving might be a mistake, but it's not a mistake if you want to head to the Village this Friday, because Port Clinton coming to take on O Hills. Really the first time we're going to get a good look at Ottawa Hills this season, and a good test with Port Clinton. Ottawa Hills, Port Clinton, both 2-1 on the season, both having huge margins of victory when they're winning, but also not so great performances in their singular losses each. Port Clinton last week against Oak Harbor gave up a staggering 295 yards on the ground, did Port Clinton. So if I have one bit of advice to give Coach Brandon Carter and the Green Bears is run the ball, gentlemen. Run the ball, Mike Robb.
Well, I mean, that's just the key to the game anyway. You know, I feel like the better your ground attack is, you know, the more control of the game that you have. I mean, let's just take an example of the book when I'm playing NCAA 25.
Get on the sticks.
When you're on the sticks, you know, the number one thing I try to do is just control the clock,
Yep.
control the possession, because now you make the other team have to be more than one-dimensional. When you look at a team like Ottawa Hills, you know, they don't really like to throw the ball. They like to pound the rock, you know,
Yep.
and when you like to pound the rock, that means you need the ball. You need time, you know, you need to be able to get those first downs. So if I'm Ottawa Hills, I'm not too concerned about that. I'm concerned about possessing the ball and trying to get big plays, because if you let them control the rock, you're in trouble, because your offense is based on running the rock.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of balance for Port Clinton that Ottawa Hills has to worry about. They got Wyatt Yarbrough, quarterback, 400 yards on the ground, but another 400 yards in the air, another 200 on the ground. Malachi Pinkerton, their running back, 226 on the ground. So there's threats that Ottawa Hills has to worry about. They've proven capable as the season's moved on so far.
Yeah, and a lot of teams are going to lose to Oak Harbor. They
are good. We'll hear more about them shortly.
Pick. We'll get to that more. But I think with what this game represents is a measuring stick and a barometer game,
100%.
because we've seen some ifs, ands, or buts here through the first 3 weeks with both of these teams, in my opinion. But Port Clinton 2-1 against the 2 wins that they got are against teams who are 0-3 and 1-2.
Right.
Ottawa Hills has 2 wins against teams that are 2-1 and 0-3. So we don't really know what type of team either of these teams are,
sure.
and that could be applied to a smorgasbord of teams across Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. But the Pillarelli brothers, Rocco
Amen.
and Reddick, I think that they are dynamic. They're just fun to watch. You know, those people who are worth the price of admission, those are 2 of them.
Yeah.
Rocco just has an attitude. Both of them do. But I've seen Rocco after scoring a long touchdown run in person on the sidelines, and you know, he's just juiced up, ready to go, smile on his face, wants to compete. That's how it's done type of stuff. So I like watching him. And then number 52 for Ottawa Hills. Ottawa Hills has a number of guys. You know, everybody wants to be a quarterback. Everybody wants to be a running back and a wide receiver, because you get all the glory and the stats and the highlights, etc. But with Ottawa Hills, they don't have huge monster offensive linemen.
No road graders.
So they have people might be undersized, but they do the job that their team needs them to do.
100%.
I want to shine the spotlight on number 52 for Ottawa Hills, Cooper Eidner. He, in my opinion, is that type of guy who might not be huge, but he gets his nose in there. He makes the tackle when it needs to be made. He stuffs people at the line of scrimmage. He does some special teams. He leads the way on offensive line. He does a bunch of things very well that help his team, win the game. But this is going to be an opportunity game. I remember my history teacher in high school. He never called them quizzes or tests. He said they are opportunities for a student. These
spin
are
job.
Opportunities for both of these teams to prove, okay, maybe we're now more legit than maybe we thought we were on the inside. Now the outside can say, okay, yeah, we're legit.
And Ottawa Hills has weapons. You talked about the Pillarellis, of course. They've also got another guy returning had over 1,000 yards from scrimmage last year, and that's Chase Miller, who 13 of 16, 215, 3 touchdowns against Swanton. So they can move the ball through the air if we need them to, Mike Robb. But I think it's going to be run the ball. Because if I see a team give up 300 yards on the ground, you can bet I'm putting it between the tackles and I'm handling business that way.
You also got to look at it too, like, you know, you compare opponents and you look at last week. You know, like I don't look at that game and say, hey, Ottawa Hills is this barn burner of a team.
Right.
You know,
It was Swanton.
They beat up on a team that's kind of down. So again, like Justin alluded to, this is going to be a good week. 4 is going to be a great week across the board.
Proving
see
grounds,
where a lot
like
of
you
teams
said.
are at.
Yep, 100%. And somebody who did his proving, and Mike Robb's going to love it, is our clip of the week, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Cisco. Wipe it. All right, I told you Mike Robb's going to love it because we're going to start last week's game of the week. Jonah Tall, you see 10 minutes and change in the fourth quarter. House call Jonah Tall. Bye-bye. this really separated the game. It had been a back-and-forth battle, not a lot of offense up until later in the game, and Jonah Tall put an exclamation point on what became a blowout of a start win.
What I picked up here is look on the outside, look on the left side.
Receivers
that
blocking,
block,
baby.
get you downfield, and that is everything. You know, that's the only thing I care about. We know Jonah Tall is one of the fastest guys in the area.
Explosive.
Look forward to seeing him on the track. But to see those receivers get out there and lead block, not getting the ball, that's selfless football, and that's kind of why I guess starting front. You know, I think that they're tough. I think they're physical, and I think they understand what their role is in the City League, but more importantly as individuals, and this is a young team.
Mike Robb can't help himself but give you big play breakdowns. He wants to spotlight and circle those blocking receivers. I love it, Justin.
Yeah, that's winning football. That's
100%.
like you said, unselfish. And talking to Coach Nate James for start, he said that we're capable of the big splashy plays. We have athletes who can go get 60 yards in a heartbeat, but it's the mundane plays. It's the simple do your job role on both offensive and defensive sides of the ball. And this is a perfect example of two guys who aren't getting the ball, aren't getting to the end zone, but they're helping their teammate get to the end zone. Hey, and look, now they're getting called out and little flowers for them here on the BCSN Nation podcast because they did their job, and that led to a team win. And keep in mind, guys, this game was 7-7 heading to the fourth quarter, to my recollection, or at least late in the third quarter.
Back and forth.
And these types of plays broke the will of Springfield, and they put up 3 touchdowns here in the fourth quarter to make it a 28-7 final. So hats off to them, and that's the cohesiveness that brings a team together. And then you show this tape. If we're showing it on the podcast here, I guarantee Coach Nate James is saying, hey, look at this. When we do these
tape
things,
on Saturday was a celebration
this
for these
is
guys.
what happens.
100%. Yeah, coach speak or cliches, they become those things because there's an element of truth behind it. If you can get your receiver to get out there and block, be selfless, make winning plays when you're not the guy in the highlight reel. We'll get you in the highlight reel anyway because you're blocking. But Jonah Tall, our clip of the week coming from start last week, a 28-7 win. We mentioned it. You want more clips just like this, head over to @BCSN Sports on TikTok. We've cruised past 9,000 followers, getting towards 10. Make sure you are one of those followers. And somebody else who fills the stands with maybe 10,000 people, who knows, the Central Catholic Fighting Irish, our student section of the week, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, proud sponsors of high school sports here on BCSN, Irish Nation, getting the belt this Friday. You see the picture, the stands are always packed for the Irish. Make sure you're bringing every element you got, every best theme you can think of for the belt this Friday. They're taking on Brother Rice. We saw and talked about what happened to Brother Rice against St. Francis last week. So the Irish getting a bounce-back game, and what better way to do it than with the belt to start a new winning streak over in Irish Nation. Again, that brought to you by Unison Health. And now, gentlemen, on to some Week 4 action. And you talked about your NBC winning pick a little bit ago in Oak Harbor. This week, they're going against my mommy Panthers. Baby, a pair of 3-0 teams square off in Week 4, both dominating so far. But the element that comes into it, as you talked about with Mommy and other teams, is who have you beaten to get here? And the records for the teams Mommy's had to face, not great, but they're averaging 51 points a game. You want to beat the teams you're supposed to beat dominantly, and they're doing that, so it's hard to fault Mommy when we come into Week 4 here.
That line right there on my sheet right here, Brandon. Oak Harbor at Maumee, huge game. This is Maumee's put some big boy pants on.
Exactly.
You have an opportunity here. Yes, you've beaten Springfield, who's 1-2. Yes, you beat Bryan, who's 0-3. Yes, you beat Bowser, who is 0-3. But like you said, they beat them in a dominant style, so they weren't just skidding by some of those teams. But we have plenty of playmakers on Maumee's side of the ball, but so does Oak Harbor. And Oak Harbor is the top dog. They have won back-to-back titles in the SBC, and then they moved over to the NBC last year. So they're trying to defend 2 straight title seasons. And they have been there, done that. Maumee has taken the necessary steps, a 5-5 season last year, just missing out on the postseason. This is a game. When you talk about playoffs, this would be a huge, huge win for them if they can get it. But the guys who are going to have to put on some big boy pants, here are the starting offensive linemen from Coach Evan Karchner. Ryan Patterson, Robbie Burlew, Jackson Schneider, Espen Hurt, Michael Conrad, and Pierce Simpson. Those 6 guys rotating amongst those offensive line starting positions. They are going to have a huge game. And they have done very well up front for the Panthers in creating time, creating space, creating holes, creating protection for those 𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁𝗶𝗴s and greats that have gotten to the end zone for Maumee. But with Oak Harbor, they were 12-1 last season, 10-2 the year before. Again, they have been there, done that. This game should be at Pat Kazmaier Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
A beautiful setting. If you've never been to Maumee's home field, a great setting for high school football. And it could be a tight game, but definitely a proving ground game for Maumee.
100%. Justin alluded to it, Mike, where this is an Oak Harbor team that has been there, done that. And for Coach Karchner, he's really turning the culture around at Maumee. And if you can win this game, boy, does that set the culture in the way you want it to go.
I mean, honestly, I feel like if Maumee can pull this one out, I think they do have the talent. You know, one of my favorite players on their team is Keyshawn Metcalf. I feel like he's just a game breaker for them. You know, and there's so many other players out there, you know, and they play so selflessly. I feel like this is the chance for Maumee to transcend into that next level. But when you look at commonality of opponents that these two teams played, they both played Bowser, right? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch the tapes, but I know Bowser was able to put up 18 on Maumee. So we do know that defensively, they are sometimes they will give up some points. So I think this is more of a Maumee defense type of a game. How do they show up and where are they at? I know that they can score points and they are aggressive and they are good play calling on offense. And Carson Grady is a stud as well. But this game is going to come down to how the Maumee defense bowled up against this Oak Harbor team.
You already know who I'm picking. I'm ride or die with the Panther Pride this season. Their first 3-0 start since 2009. Shout out to Game Day Tailgate for that trivia that I got for this game. But now it's time for the granddaddy of them all for this week for our Game of the Week preview brought to you by Dunn Chevy in Oregon. Cisco, you know what to do. All right, our Game of the Week, Findlay at Clay, the first ever appearance, back-to-back first ever appearances for Game Day Tailgate this week at Clay, and a new life Findlay Trojans team. We talked about life post-Montgomery. We're done talking about that because Landon 𝗡𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁𝗶𝗴 is here, and maybe they got the answer in the freshman quarterback.
Yeah, and Coach John Gaius told me from Clay's point of view and looking at the tape, he said, yeah, Landon 𝗡𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁𝗶𝗴, a freshman, reminds me a lot of Ryan Montgomery. Keep in mind, Ryan Montgomery started as a freshman a few weeks into his freshman campaign. And when you're saying that says quite a bit. Now,
high praise.
Promising that he's going to be a 4-star recruit and go to an SEC school. Let's not get
TBD.
Too carried away. But when you have that simple statement as a 15-year-old kid, maybe even 15, maybe 14 as a freshman here early in the school year. But this is a game similar, in my opinion, to the Oak Harbor Maumee game. Findlay mopped Clay last year 42-7, and Clay has 9 of 11 starters back on offense, 6 of 11 back on defense. Mason 𝗍𝗁, 1 year better in a multitude of areas, throwing arm, footwork, escapability. He has all of that. They do, it seems like every year we bring up solidified the offensive line for Clay. But for Findlay, I think, Mike, this is a way for them to kind of feel their way out. They've tried the new personnel. When you got a brand new starting quarterback, they went from Ryan Montgomery to Riley Corcos to Landon 𝗡𝗶𝗴𝗵𝘁𝗶𝗴 here. You got new personnel. You got kind of ever-changing game plans because you got a new opponent, but then you're trying to fit your own pieces to the puzzle
works
together.
For our new identity, yeah.
Yeah, so starting this Friday, they got Clay, then Fremont Ross, then Springfield. On paper, Findlay.
Get right segment.
Maybe depending upon your point of view for this game at Clay, 3-0. You should win those games on paper. But after that, Findlay's got Anthony Wayne, Perrysburg, and Whitmer. That is their gauntlet run.
Right.
So if I'm a head coach and I'm the coaching staff at Findlay, all right, let's try to get our ducks in a row here in these next few weeks. 1, stay healthy. 2, get our ducks in a row schematically. And then let's be ready to put our best foot forward for 3 straight gauntlet weeks.
And then for Clay, that's your cardinal pick. It's a big step up. You're trying to get back for the loss that Justin talked about last season. And Mason 𝗍𝗁𝗁 trying to go out on a high note against Findlay.
You know, and again, it's going to have to be Mason 𝗍𝗁𝗁 pulling the rabbit out the hat. You know, doing his best David Blaine impression just all game long because the Clay's defense is going to be in trouble here. You know, they're going to have to step up and they're going to have to find a way because this is a physical offensive unit. We saw last week with Southview. they got boat raced. I wasn't expecting that, especially with 𝗦𝗍𝗶𝗵𝗵 stepping up.
Sure, yeah.
And making the plays that he made. So I think that this is going to be a physical game. I think Stephen Adams is going to take the clock away from this team and keep the ball out of Mason Heinzel's hand. Again,
good plan.
It's
good plan.
I would do the same. And I think with the return of Reese Little and with Yeager and Watkins and those guys up front, I think they're going to lean on being more physical this game and trying to take the clock away, and especially when you get the speed with Ragland and Hines. Those guys are barn burners. So not saying that Clay doesn't have an offense to retaliate. I just think that their defense is going to have to really step up. So maybe this is the week we see Mason on some defense, playing some free safety, flying around.
Hey, I'm all for seeing Mason Heinzel on the field anywhere we can get him. I don't care if he's returning kicks. Give me Mason Heinzel highlights all day, but they need to bounce back. You talked about it defensively because Whitmer really pushed the ball any way they wanted to, it felt like last week in that 45-14 win. So
I just want to tap on that last part thing I didn't mention, and we probably talked about it a little bit, is just their schedule coming up. I mean, you got Whitmer, lost that. You got Finley and Perrysburg. You can absolutely go into Bowling Green 0-3, and that's not a team that you want to go in on 3-2.
Right.
Because Bowling Green, they are still physical and tough.
Yeah, they're going to want to run the ball, too, with the two-headed machine they've got in their backfield. We want to know who you think is going to come away with the win in this. Head over to our Twitter page, X, whatever you want to call it. Our Game of the Week poll ends tomorrow, Thursday at noon. Get your vote in. Catch this game on Friday, 7 p.m. on the NLL Network. Now we're going to transition into some pastime. One of our top 20 male athletes of the BCSN era, and this is a good one. The Irish Dane-ish. See the pun. Dane Sanzenbacher was a sight to behold at Central Catholic in his time with the Irish, moving on to Ohio State from there. His junior season alone had 11 interceptions, 16 touchdowns, was first team All-State. Part of that 2005 Central Catholic State Championship team, had 2 titles in the state title game. Crazy stat from high school. He played 7 career playoff games. Mike Robb, he had 8 interceptions in 7 career playoff games, was dominant, went on to Ohio State, had 1,800-plus career yards, 19 touchdowns, was the team MVP as a senior, and then had a solid career for a while in the NFL, 43 catches, 3 touchdowns with both the Bears and Bengals. One of our top male athletes of the BCSN era, Dane Sanzenbacher of the Central Catholic Fighting Irish. And we'll be right back with more after this 30-second ad from Buffalo Wild Wings.
I've saved so much money enjoying Buffalo Wild Wings BOGO half-off traditional wing Tuesdays. I can finally afford everything I've ever wanted in life. Wings. All I ever wanted was more wings. So yeah, buy one, get one half-off traditional wings is the perfect deal for me and my lifetime yearnings. I value it more than literally anything. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.
At participating locations, not valid with other offers or discounts. See website or app for details.
Well, this is a participating location for more games. We got a games list ready to come up on your screen. Plenty coming out this Friday. We talked about Game Day Tailgate heading to its debut over at Clay High School for Finley at Clay. Perrysburg and Southview, another good get-back game for the Cougars in that one. Napoleon A-Dub, going to be a fun one. You want physical football, you go to Napoleon and A-Dub this Friday. River Rouge, St. John's, Oak Harbor, Maumee, the battle of the NBC there. Lima Senior coming to Northview. Port Clinton at O'Hills, which we talked about. And then we got City League matchup. Wait at Rogers. Gentlemen, anything stand out to you up on that screen?
Hey, Thursday night action.
That's
Thursday night.
We got Start and Scott.
That's going to be a good one. That's the new rivalry in the City League.
Hey, I'll be on the call for that one. I am super excited for this one to see my team, the Start Spartans, step up against the Bulldogs. I want to see the Bulldogs bite, though.
Yeah, shout out to Clay with the tailgate set up there. First time ever at Clay. Clay's student section, one of the best in Northwest Ohio. Show up and show out. Get there 6:15 at our set on the field in the end zone area. And we got the band and the cheerleaders expected to join us as well. So myself and Godfrey and Matt Kriegel looking forward to some fun there for our tailgate show. And then I'll take the Perrysburg Southview. Mike Robb mentioned Southview losing against Finley. I was told that key linebacker Andrew Young, senior leader for Southview's defense, tore his ACL in week 2. So they were playing their first game without him. That could have led to some of the defensive struggles that Finley put on him. But other than that, let's see Maumee and Oak Harbor. We talked a lot about it, but let's see if they can deliver.
That's the one I am ready for, and we're going to be ready for more right here next Wednesday, 4 p.m. on BCSN or anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Amazon, Apple. Ducking Footballs one more time again. Google Podcast or bcsnnation.com/podcast. Follow at Justin Feldkamp, at Coach_Mike Robb, at Carnes Brandon, but more importantly, at BCSN Sports. And most importantly, come back here next Wednesday, hang out with us for another episode of the BCSN Nation podcast. Gentlemen, on to week 4.
Yes, sir.
Let's get it.